Alrighty, welcome everybody back to another live stream here on the channel. Hopefully you're all having a fantastic Wednesday. I believe, yes, it is Wednesday. Hopefully you're all having a great Wednesday. Glad to see you all in here for another stream. So far we have Oversteer, Jake, Severe Weather Alert, Zachary, and World all in here. Glad to see everyone in here again for another live stream. Let's go ahead and dive on into it. We've got a lot to talk about, a lot to go over. We're going to go over the new severe thunderstorm watch, as you can see scrolling at the bottom of the stream. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about the big extension that we've gotten on the day 3 risk that you see here looping in the background. We're going to talk about the new day 7 risk that the National Weather Service, specifically Storm Prediction Center out there in Norman, Oklahoma, issued for a very large chunk of the central U.S. So we're going to have much of the people under the gun for severe weather this upcoming Friday will be under the gun for severe weather going into this, like 6 days from now, next Tuesday. And then we'll also have another risk on Wednesday. So plenty of severe weather to talk about, plenty of things to go over, and plenty of risks to talk about. That's for sure. A lot of risks to go ahead and talk about. So let's go ahead and we'll go ahead and pause this real quick. We'll go ahead and pause that. I want to see our current severe weather situation. So we've got a severe thunderstorm watch out here. I don't think we have any severe thunderstorm warnings. Okay, I do have those turned on, and you can see there's no severe thunderstorm warnings that are out here. So we just have a big severe thunderstorm watch. Although I think this might have reset itself because this doesn't look as obvious. Yeah, 30% 2.5, 30% 2.5. Apparently that is. These severe thunderstorm watches just look a little bit faint today. So I'm going to go ahead and up that real quick to 40% for the watches. And you can see, yeah, we got a severe thunderstorm watch here in the pink. This general area in here under a severe thunderstorm watch. No tornado watch, which I find a bit interesting considering we did get the Storm Prediction Center to upgrade today to a 5% tornado risk. So I don't... yeah, they're not going to do a tornado watch because the severe thunderstorm watch is for another 6 hours. So there's no way they can fit in a tornado watch. If the severe watch was for like 2 hours, then I'd say, okay, we're going to see a tornado watch tonight. But no, they're not going to do a tornado watch today because that 5% risk is pretty much and almost entirely encompassed by that severe thunderstorm watch. So I suppose confidence decreased in the potential for tornadoes today. Yesterday, it was a 2%. This morning, it got upgraded to 5%, and I'd assume that confidence has decreased yet again in the opportunity for tornadoes. And of course, we'll go over all that. We'll go over our meso analysis. We'll go over our whole pattern. We'll go over our model runs. We'll go over the whole shebang. It should be hopefully a very informative live stream. Glad to see you guys all in here again. Ben, welcome to the stream. Glad to see you in here. SPC Western Ohio, glad to see you in here. Hopefully everyone's having a great day. And so that's our tornado risk for today. We do have a very large slight risk for severe weather, and the main thing is the hail risk. They did not put out a significant risk. I kind of was thinking they would end up putting out a SIG 1 risk down here near Dallas. They did not do that, which I gotta be honest, I am a little bit surprised of, because it still looks really good for the potential of some big time hail. You could see here later on this evening, about 7 to 9 o'clock Eastern, storms are expected to fire out here and persist till almost midnight. And I really do think that these are going to be capable of, 2-inch hailstones, which is what a SIG 1 risk is. So definitely want to be watching out there around Dallas, back down into just north of Waco, for the potential of some large hailstones. And then further north, you could see we will have the opportunity for some spin-up tornadoes out of some maybe semi-discrete storms here that try to fire out of these clusters. So I wouldn't rule out a few spin-up tornadoes up here in southern Missouri and in northern Arkansas. And then if we go back down into southeastern Oklahoma, that's kind of like a wild card area there. You could get the potential for a tornado, potential for large hail. So, but really what we're looking at is we're looking at a good tornado threat, 1-inch hail being possible, 60 mile an hour winds being possible up here, 70 mile an hour winds, 2-inch hail, and a brief tornado being possible down in here. And then in between is a little bit more of a question mark in there. So I'm pretty confident that this northern mode is going to be our main tornado threat today across southern Missouri, northern Arkansas, near where that 5% tornado risk is. But maybe also a little bit to the northeast of that. And then again, we'll go over that a little bit more in depth when we switch to our main model runs. By the way, this is the 19Z HRRR, the new HRRR model run here. But we'll go over that more in depth when we switch to our main model run page. Then for damaging winds, like I said, we got a pretty big 15% risk, but I think the main damaging wind threat and hail threat is going to be focused down in here. I think that's our highest threat for all hazards today. Except for tornadoes. So damaging winds and hail is highest down here. Tornado threat is highest up here. There you go. Easiest way to explain it. So tornado threat is highest up here. And then your hail and wind threat is highest down here. Then we go on into tomorrow. Now tomorrow is a different story. Actually, something very, very interesting was just issued not too long ago. We have a 5 hatched. We have a 5 hatched. Most of us have never seen this before in the weather community. I can't remember the last time this was in effect. I think they may have done this prior to like 2011, 2012. So it's been at least 14 years since we've ever had the possibility of a 5 hatched. And this isn't really technically a 5 hatched like what it was, 14 plus years ago. This is actually a SIG 1, which is not as bad as what like a 5 hatched risk would be 14 plus years ago, rather, not days, 14 plus years ago. So the old significant risk was a 10, if you had a 5% significant risk, it would be a 5% chance every 25 miles of a given point for an EF2 tornado or greater. In this case, it is a 5% chance every 25 miles of a given point for a maximum intensity tornado of EF2. So they don't expect anything greater than an EF2. An EF2 is as high as we see for tomorrow's risk if we continue with a SIG 1. Now, if that gets up to a SIG 2, that's where we're talking about intense tornadoes. However, very rare scenario that you will get a 5% SIG 2. That would be reserved for extremely high parameter events where we may or may not see storms fire. For instance, like Matador back in 2023, where if a storm did fire, it would probably produce an intense tornado. That would be a rare instance where you would see like a 5% tornado risk with a SIG 2. Tomorrow, thankfully, doesn't have that type of environment, but I will say the hail risk on this, I wouldn't be shocked if we get a SIG 2. It would not shock me if we wake up to a SIG 2 15% or a SIG 2 30% hail risk. I do think some of these storms will be capable of producing hail around the realms of 3.75 to upwards of 4-inch in diameter hail. If these storms can stay discrete long enough and be long tracked, which it looks like we will have a high chance of seeing. So it would not shock me at all if we do get an upgrade to an enhanced risk SIG 2 for hail, or we stay as a slight risk SIG, but we get upgraded to a SIG 2. So either way, I think we're going to see an upgrade in probabilities. That may be an upgrade in the overall chance for largest hail, or an upgrade in the sense of a 30% risk for hail. So either way, I think we'll see an upgrade, and either way, I think we have the chance of seeing 3+ inch hailstones for tomorrow. It's just a matter of if the SPC has enough confidence in us seeing upwards of 4-inch hailstones. If they do have that type of confidence, then we'll see a SIG 2 introduced. Which again, I really would not be surprised. It wouldn't surprise me. The 3 outcomes wouldn't surprise me tomorrow is if they upgrade it to SIG 2, and then they upgrade the overall probabilities to an enhanced risk 30%. And then it also wouldn't shock me if they ended up just upgrading this area to SIG 2 and leaving it slight, one or the other. Actually, would a SIG 2 15% be a enhanced risk? Keep in mind, I've only had this for no longer than about, roughly 30 hours or so, so I'm getting used to this too. So if they went SIG 2 15%, that would be enhanced. So either way, I think we'll get an enhanced risk. Got it. So if they go SIG 2 15%, which is what you see here, this is 15% SIG 1. So if they put SIG 2 on this, it would upgrade it to an enhanced risk. And if they go SIG 2 30%, it would still be an enhanced risk. It's going to take some getting used to, y'all. It's going to take some getting used to, but I think it is a much better, more in-depth graphic than what we had the day before yesterday. I think it's a much better graphic. And instead of us saying, a hatched risk used to be, if this was the old hatched risk, then it would just be, a 15% chance for hailstones greater or equal to 2-inch in diameter. But if they end up adding that second hatched risk, that SIG 2, then we'll know, hey, we got an opportunity for destructive hail of 3.75 inches in diameter. Which, if you don't know what SIG 2 for hail is, it is hailstones equal to or possibly greater than 3.75 inch in diameter. And like I said, it wouldn't surprise me if we get like a 3.75 inch hailstone or a 4-inch hailstone tomorrow. That would not shock me, which is why I think they're going to upgrade that. But that's my personal opinion. We'll see if the SPC actually goes through with that. It's just, there's the chance for so many semi-discrete to discrete supercells in the Texas Panhandle into Oklahoma that I think they're going to end up pulling that trigger. And if you go to the tornado risk, you could see in that tornado risk, they also have that SIG 1, SIG 1 tornado risk as well, which means there's a 5% chance every 25 miles of a given point for a tornado of maximum intensity of a EF2. And then if we get a SIG 2, which I think is nearly impossible for tomorrow, then that would be maximum intensity of EF3, and then it's not possible to get a 5% SIG 3 for tornadoes. But a SIG 3 for tornadoes is maximum intensity of EF4 or EF5. So, like I said, it's going to take a few days to get used to. And then we have the damaging winds, which I figured out the damaging winds. Oh, I didn't realize they hatched the wind threat. They hatched the wind threat too. I actually very much agree with this new outlook that they put out. The other one that they had for tomorrow was not good, in my opinion. And this one I like a whole lot better now with our newer data. So if you're in this SIG 1 15%, what that means is there's a 15% chance every 25 miles of a given point for damaging winds equal to or greater than 74 miles per hour. There you go. And if we get a SIG 2 tomorrow, inside this 15%, there would be a 15% chance every 25 miles of a given point for damaging winds greater than or equal to 84 miles per hour. And you can guess what SIG 3 is. Now, SIG 3 you can't have for a 15%. So your lowest SIG 3 you can have, you have to go up to where is it? You have to go up to a 45%. So actually, a SIG 3 can't even be an enhanced risk. A SIG 3 for wind is an automatic high risk. So SIG 3 45% wind is the lowest probability you can have for SIG 3 for damaging winds, and it is a high risk. And that is when, so that lowest probability, 45% chance for damaging winds, right? Yeah. So that would be a 45% chance every 25 miles of a given point for damaging winds greater than or equal to 94 miles per hour. And typically a derecho has to be ongoing for them to issue the 45 SIG 3 probabilities. So yeah, thankfully we're not dealing with that type of day for tomorrow. So again, just to go through this again, just in case I confused you, I think we'll see an upgrade in probabilities for large hail tomorrow, because I think we could see hailstones upwards of 4-inch in diameter. I don't think the tornado threat will be upgraded any further, but we will have an opportunity for a strong tornado of EF2 intensity. And then for damaging winds, I think we will stay generally with this outlook. I really like this outlook, and I do think we'll have a couple wind gusts equal to or greater than 74 miles per hour. And then for day 3 is Friday, and that is our big day for severe weather. That is our main risk, our enhanced risk for severe weather here. And let me just show you what they changed. They did quite the change. So they pushed this significant risk. The SIG 1 has been pushed west. The enhanced risk SIG 1 has been pushed west. And the 5% SIG 1 has been pushed west. So basically they extended the entire outlook west. So if we take a look at the newest RRFSA model run, you can see here, storms don't actually fire too early on this, but you could see that storms are like right barely east of that 15% slight risk. If they didn't change that, this would have been in like a marginal risk area. So they changed that slight risk to go a little bit more west because they think storms will fire a little bit earlier on that dry line, possibly firing as early as 5 p.m. Eastern time on Friday. And if that happens, they would fire right on the edge of that slight risk. Cody, do you not know how to do that? Here, let me show you. So look, what you do is you have go to the Outlooks tab, hit this, go to probabilistic day 3, and then you can switch to the models and it will stay on there. Now, if you press that X button, then it will disappear. That should work. That should work on WeatherWise. I'm not 100% sure, but I mean, as you can see, it worked for me. There might be a different setting you need on, but I don't think so. So here's the RRFSA, and you can see it shows our QLCS threat right here. That's our QLCS threat, which is a line of damaging winds with the potential for tornadoes embedded in the line. It's a quasi-linear convective system. And you can see that pushes through a very large chunk of our risk area. A very large chunk of our risk area gets that QLCS. And you can also see it forms further north, too. All the way back up here into central eastern Iowa. And then slams into Chicago. So there's your QLCS there. That's your main damaging wind threat. And if this does come to fruition, we will see an extension of that 30% risk to the northeast for damaging winds. You guys will get into an enhanced risk back up all the way, maybe even into Chicago, if we are looking at this widespread of a damaging wind threat. There's definitely some uncertainty on that, but I think that that is a very real possibility. And the reason why I think that's a very real possibility, two reasons. Well, one of our long-range cams, the RRFSA that we're looking at now, shows it. And another really good reason is because the SPC already has a significant risk all the way up into Chicago. So that tells me that they're already thinking this damaging line is a very real possibility. And if it continues to look like this on the model runs, we're going to see an expansion of that 30% because they'd have higher confidence in damaging winds. Now, further to the south, there's a little bit more of a question mark. We don't know exactly what's going to happen down here because our cold front won't be as strong down into Oklahoma and Texas. So if you're looking for a good chance for discrete supercells, you're going to have to go further to the south. Down in here is going to be your best bet on seeing discrete to semi-discrete supercells. And there's a lot of uncertainty on if the dry line will initiate by itself. And you can see in this case, the RRFSA does initiate some supercells off of either the dry line or the confluence band that we talked about yesterday. You could definitely see some semi-discrete storms trying to fire up in all those areas. So further south is a bit more of a conditional threat for severe weather, but if storms fire, it is a higher ceiling threat for tornadoes. And then further north, storms are likely to fire, but they are likely to fire in a big line. So again, we're still looking at a very impactful Friday. That is for sure. Friday looks like an extremely impactful day. And then Saturday actually looks really, really good as well. I think the Northeast is going to be a spot to watch for all hazards. And then I also think that we should see a slight risk probably back down here in Mississippi, Alabama, maybe even into Tennessee for damaging winds. So I'd be keeping an eye out on both of those areas on Saturday for the potential of severe weather. In the middle is a question mark right there because we don't know if we're going to have enough cape. There may not be enough cape in the middle of that. It's weaker. There's weaker forcing in the middle as well as less cape in the middle. But this model run really explodes thunderstorms even well back into Texas. So right now there is not a risk on this. If we go to Saturday, there's nothing here. They did not highlight a slight risk for Saturday in either the far southern area or in this area. I think both of those areas are at risk for severe weather for Saturday. So I'm watching that very closely too, because Saturday is probably going to sneak up on some people. And then there's nothing on day 5. I don't see anything on day 5. Day 6, there's nothing on day 6. I don't see anything on day 6. Day 7, uh-oh. If you guys were here in yesterday's live stream, you'd know that day 7 has higher potential than this upcoming Friday. Let's see if our models still indicate that. And yeah, they definitely still do. So March 9th and March 10th are huge signals. And I just want to go check the date on those. So March 9th is, let's see. Is this for Monday or Tuesday? Okay, day 6 is Monday, but right now the SPC doesn't have anything for day 6. And it all comes down to timing. That's what it comes down to. It comes down to timing. If our trough is quicker, the main day is going to be Monday. Other way around. If our trough is quicker, the main day will be Tuesday, which is what the SPC is thinking. If the trough is slower, the main day will be Monday. Right now, I think Tuesday is going to end up being our main day. And it all depends on this right here. This is our... Let's not use our GFS because that's really been a pretty big outlier for the last few events. It all depends on this guy right here. Does this guy speed up and go into the South Central Plains on Monday or Tuesday? This model run says Tuesday. You can see there, this is Tuesday at roughly 7 p.m. Eastern, and your trough is in the Central Plains on Tuesday. And whereas the GFS... the GFS is a bit slower, but that also relatively agrees on Tuesday. So I think Tuesday will be the main day for severe weather. And then also here, we are looking at, there's no day 8 risk yet, but I think day 8 will end up being a risk for severe weather as well towards the east central US over Tennessee, Kentucky, Mississippi, Alabama. So I think this has pretty high end potential. This has higher potential than Friday. So keep an eye on March 10th and March 11th. Let's see. Yeah, and then going into March 12th, that signal disappears a lot. All right, let's go back to day 7 again. So there's your day 7 risk for those who didn't get a good look at it because I went over it quickly. There's your slight risk for severe weather on Tuesday. And like I said, I think as we go into day 8, Wednesday, that's going to shift over here in that general area. I want to go back up to what Brooklyn said. Could you please go over Friday again if you haven't already? I just got here, wanted to know what Friday will bring me since I'm in the enhanced. So, welcome to the stream. And I did go over that like right as you joined. I'm pretty sure I was going over that. So, yeah, you're dead smack center of Tulsa. You're in really a boom or bust type of scenario. That's what Tulsa's in, honestly. That's what Tulsa is in here. Your best chance for thunderstorms will definitely be as that cold front comes through towards 2, 3 a.m., maybe a little before that. However, those probably aren't going to end up being severe because they'll end up running out of instability. So we're really looking at a boom or bust scenario with the evening hours. And it just depends on how many discrete storms we see fire. There's a lot of uncertainty on that, a huge amount of uncertainty. If we go to our NAM model, we bring this out. This is for Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. And you can see a really good dry line and cold front setting up there across Oklahoma. And I mean, that would be almost the perfect setup for, you know, right where you are to be under the gun for the best chance of tornadoes. So it just depends on if anything fires off of that dry line. And there's a lot of uncertainty on that. But I will say this, typically cams do not pick up on that very well. So I would expect more supercells than what your cam models are saying right now, which this is one of your cam models, the RFSA. And that says, 1, 2 supercells here in Oklahoma. Typically, they don't pick up on that dry line initiating too well. And then you also have your cam model, the NAM3K here, which tries to initiate on that dry line, but it's the NAM model, so instead of it initiating supercells, it decides I'm going to initiate a whole entire line along this dry line. So your cam models are picking up on some sort of initiation, but I can tell you this, they're definitely not picking up on what probably is going to happen. Because, again, they're typically very bad with those dry line setups. And that's a big difference on where your dry line is placed, by the way. Look at the difference in that. Big difference between... The GFS is an outlier. It's still an outlier. It's a whole 24 hours later, almost an entire 24 hours later since our last live stream. And the GFS still ain't got it in check here. I mean, almost every other model agrees with each other, and then the GFS is just like, haha, I'm going to throw out a completely different scenario. Screw you. Like, seriously, look at this. Even the wrap model is relatively in check here. Dry line on the wrap is right there. European model, dry line is just a little bit further off to the west. GFS, dry line is completely crooked and different. Like, the GFS is not even remotely close to any of the other scenarios. Yet, somehow, people are still using it to forecast. So, right now, there's not really a great model run, because we're not in range of our main cam model, like the HRRR. So, there's not really a really well depicted model run that's showing us just how potent Friday's threat may be. I don't think it will go moderate. I don't see a reason for it to go moderate. Honestly, the best chance for it to go moderate would be for damaging winds, and that would have to be a 45% sig 2 for damaging winds. I don't see us getting that high with this type of setup. I don't think we're at that caliber of a setup. And then if you're talking about tornadoes, you got to get a sig 2 15%. And for hail, well, yeah, we ain't getting a moderate for hail anytime soon. Because that's, this type of setup is not going to be a big hail producer. We'll definitely see some hail with these semi-discrete supercells, but we're not talking about like 4+ inch hail, like a moderate risk worthy hail threat. So, and a moderate risk for tornadoes. I mean, I just don't see our environment being potent enough for that. Like I said, the NAM does show a scenario where that would be a more potent environment and a better chance for strong tornadoes, but I still don't think that would be moderate risk caliber. It will not be downgraded to slight. Nuh-uh. You know why? Because it's Broyles. What he says goes. Like, this dude has nailed some crazy severe weather risks. I mean, it's never impossible to see it be downgraded, but we would have to have some serious downtrends. And either way, I still think our damaging wind threat is going to be pretty dang high. Looking at them right now, Sam. And yeah, those initiate the dry line very well in eastern Oklahoma. A little bit messy in southeastern Oklahoma, but they initiate very well. Which I think is going to end up being correct. What environment did they initiate in? Not the best environment. Looks like that. Yeah, that's really pinpointing like this area too. So like northeastern Oklahoma is really a pinpoint on the NAM model run, this model run, and then let me see this one. Yeah, so I would be watching northeastern Oklahoma in here the most for a strong tornado threat. What do you think about next Tuesday? It's far out. Severe weather's possible for sure, and the ceiling is higher than Friday's risk. I can tell you that. I can tell you the potential for Tuesday is higher than this upcoming Friday. Because let's just go to a better model run. I really gotta quit using the GFS. Definitely one of the big red flags in this, though, is because it looks positive. It looks like a positively tilted trough, which is not good for severe weather. However, the defluence in front of it and how strong the trough is very noticeable. So you're talking about a ginormous area under the risk for severe weather. Like we're talking all the way from Indiana, Wisconsin, all the way back down into Texas, back up into Kentucky. Like that entire area would be, that entire area would be under the gun for severe weather in that scenario. However, this particular run doesn't show that very potent threat verifying in terms of it being a higher threat than Friday, because it's not a negatively tilted trough. If we go to Friday's threat here, you can see Friday has the tilt to it. You can see your embedded shortwave right in there. It's not a very well organized negatively tilted trough, but you can see it. It's definitely there. And then again, if we go back to Tuesday, there's not really a lot of southeastern tilt with this. It looks relatively flat, relatively positively tilted, which would be a big time wind threat, just like Friday. However, I highly doubt you would end up with any type of discrete storms being possible. It would just end up being probably one big old conga line. Yeah, even going into Wednesday too, it would just continue as one big old conga line. So, a lot of uncertainty to work out, but severe weather is definitely possible. Both Tuesday and Wednesday. But I don't want to get into specifics on exactly what hazards where because we're way too far out for that. We can barely even talk about the hazards on this upcoming Friday's risk. Really, now is the time where we're starting to talk about the hazards because we're getting into that range. Once you get roughly about 48 hours out, that's when you start to talk about hazards in terms of who's going to see what, where's the best chance for tornadoes and stuff like that. You roughly got to be about 48 hours out. And then I know some people were talking about tomorrow's risk. If you did miss that, what I said about that, we do have a SIG 1 5% risk for tornadoes for tomorrow. What this means is there's a 5% chance every 25 miles of a given point for us to see a maximum intensity tornado of EF2. So we shouldn't see any tornadoes greater than EF2 intensity for tomorrow. That's the maximum intensity the SPC is anticipating. Now, if you got rid of the SIG risk, typically we're talking EF0, EF1 tornadoes. But since we have SIG 1, we're talking EF2 tornadoes are possible. Now, once we get into EF3, that's when you need to see a SIG 2. But we don't have a SIG 2 for tomorrow, and I don't think we will see a SIG 2 for tomorrow. In terms of the hail threat, like I mentioned earlier, I do think we could see a enhanced risk for hail one way or the other. Either we get a 30% SIG 2 or we get a 15% SIG 2. It just depends on the confidence of the SPC in supercells firing. If they have a higher confidence in supercells, they'll issue a 30% enhanced risk. If they have a lower confidence, they'll have a 15% SIG 2. Either way, I think tomorrow's going to go enhanced risk in western Oklahoma and the eastern panhandle of Texas. And I think hail is going to be by far the biggest issue. And the damaging wind outlook, I really like this. They fixed this. The last update, I didn't really like it much at all. Like that 15% wind risk was like back in here, all the way back up into here, and then back down. And they shifted that whole thing sideways, which I like it a lot more because, well, we're likely going to see supercells fire in here and go off to the northeast. And once they get into central Oklahoma, we're either going to see a clustering of them or we're going to see them form into a line as they move off to the northeast. And then today, for those who don't know, we do have a severe thunderstorm watch out across portions of Arkansas, Missouri, Illinois, Indiana, and Kentucky. We did just get a severe thunderstorm warning as well. So we'll continue to watch these very sloppy storms. They're not impressive. I do want to do a bit more of a deep dive into that because I told you guys I would. So let's go to our 20ZHRRR and see what that says. Okay, goodbye. No, I'm just kidding. But it doesn't show much. It doesn't show much impressive at all. Main threat would definitely be hail, but my goodness, it definitely did not uptrend whatsoever. I still would be watching towards Dallas for some large hail, but it really started downtrending. Like I said, it wouldn't shock me if the SPC puts out a SIG 1 out there around Dallas. But it's very sloppy. Just any of these storms that can manage to sustain semi-discrete will have a chance to produce a weak tornado or two. I mean, I wouldn't rule out a strong tornado today. That is a little bit crazy to say, but I mean, if you get like a semi-discrete storm in like that type of environment there or back up in here all by itself, it's not impossible. Especially when you have 250, over 300 0 to 1 kilometer SRH. It's by no means impossible that you see a low-end strong tornado threat. I wouldn't rule that out. It just depends, though. If storms are clustered, we're barely going to see a tornado threat. If we see more discrete storms, we could see a few weak tornadoes, and it wouldn't surprise me if we see a strong tornado. But I can tell you this, we're not looking at long-lived anything. These are not going to be long-lived supercells. These will not be long-track tornadoes. Nothing is going to be long-lived here. These storms are going to be pretty short-lived and relatively all over the place. So, yeah, there's you got a front setup right in there. Front setup right there. Cape is highest right along that front. Shear is highest right along that front, very close to it. So, yeah, I wouldn't rule out a strong tornado today. But it all comes down to if a supercell can really be by itself. If we see something like this, heck no. If that does come to fruition, we're talking about small hail, 60-mile-an-hour winds, maybe a brief tornado. The NAM show is very interesting. Yeah, right in there would be your highest tornado threat. Again, right on that boundary, really. Southern Missouri, northern Arkansas. That's the main area where I'd be watching. But again, it's very conditional. I don't even think it's worth putting a SIG risk on this, because I doubt we'll see it. And then for tomorrow, that has me way more interested. Now, that is worth a SIG risk. You could see a much more potent environment tomorrow. So, definitely worth that 5 SIG risk that the SPC upgraded to for tomorrow's risk. And then again, I want to mention, I wouldn't be shocked if we see 3 to 4 inch hailstones being possible tomorrow. Right on that boundary, or north of the boundary. And that is definitely a big time boundary setup. It does every... Yeah, you're looking at, that is big hail. That screams hail. And all it takes is one of those hailstorms to latch on that boundary, like that bad boy right there. That bad boy. If we get one that latches onto that boundary, you can bet you're going to see a strong tornado. Yep. If you get one to latch right onto that boundary, you're going to get a strong tor out of that. As well as probably softball-sized hail. You're looking at 3 to 4 inch hail with that too. So big hail day, conditional strong tornado threat, all depending on if storms latch onto that boundary. And then damaging winds will definitely be possible, especially as those storms grow more upscale and more into a line. Damaging winds will become a bigger issue into the overnight hours. So like these two storms would be mainly damaging winds and big time hail threats. And then this would be an all hazards threat, because it has to be latched onto that boundary. And you can see those two storms are north of the boundary. If we draw out that boundary right there, you can see this storm is going to latch right onto that sucker, and the other two are going to go more to the north of the boundary. So, again, that's why I think we'll see an enhanced risk tomorrow, because that just screams big-time hail. So we'll see if they end up pulling an enhanced for hail tomorrow. Imagine a violent tornado tomorrow. Um, the environment doesn't support that, but yeah, we saw it in 2025. I mean, these boundaries are crazy. Boundaries are crazy. Outflow boundaries are insane, and I don't know what type of boundary this is. I'm thinking it's some type of heating boundary. Yeah. I'm thinking it's some sort of what is it? Differential heating boundary? Something like that. That's what I'm thinking this is. Some sort of boundary like that. Something around the realms of that. You could see maybe a lack of cloud cover there, and that's what helps set up that boundary until storms fire. But the environment is not very, very potent. But you can see that boundary, man. That boundary does some work on wind shear. Look at that. That boundary does some insane work on wind shear. And you could see your cape is like right where that wind shear is the best. So like you got to get a supercell. We have to have a supercell perfectly planted directly on that boundary, moving the correct direction in order for us to see a strong tornado. Which is why tomorrow is extremely conditional. But man, if that doesn't scream conditional, strong tornado, and big time hail, I don't know what does. That's about as obvious as it gets right there. Thursday is definitely not the biggest threat. It does have definitely a higher threat in terms of hail, but it's over a much more rural area as well as a much smaller area. Like the HRRR is firing those storms mainly up in here. Which, if you compare Friday to this area here, where I think our highest severe threat is on the northwest side, maybe a little bit southwest of that, roughly in here is our highest hail and tornado threat. And then you go and look at Friday, like it's not even close. That sucker is absurdly larger than tomorrow's threat in terms of how many people it will impact. Barely even a fraction. Tomorrow there is 20 million, 30 million, just under 60 million people at risk for severe weather Friday. And tomorrow, roughly, there is 10 million people under risk for severe weather. People under the chance for significant severe weather tomorrow is just under 4 million. People under the risk for significant severe weather on Friday is just under 40 million. Add a whole another zero to that sucker. So, yeah, a lot of people under the gun for severe weather this weekend. Next week, we're going to have, there's going to be like 100 plus million people that are that'll be under the gun for severe weather. When you combine today's risk, tomorrow's risk, Friday's risk, Saturday's risk, Tuesday's risk, Wednesday's risk, yeah, we ought to hit 100 plus million people under the gun for severe weather in the next 7 days. I can't tell you about Friday, and the reason why is if we go back, let's see. I can't even go back far enough like how I would want to. But basically, models aren't going to show these little key factors until you are close to the event. So, like, the 00ZH probably isn't going to show anything crazy for Friday. If it does, well, you'll hear about it on Twitter, that's for sure. But I can tell you this, that sucker's already initiating storms at freaking 1 p.m. on Friday. That thing ain't wasting no time initiating storms on Friday. Shoot, the second we get a good amount of cape in there, it's like, whoop, I'm popping those storms right up. Ooh, that's a lot of cloud cover. But yeah, typically you gotta wait for these. So like I can't say too much about the tornado threat on Friday, but what I do know is that we'll likely see a few tornadoes on Friday and a couple strong tornadoes possible. So yeah, pretty impressive stuff, man. Pretty impressive. Good morning.
Good morning.
So you're alive today, huh?
I am somehow actually.
Bro, what's that? Unfortunately.
Yeah, I almost said unfortunately. No, fortunately I am. Unfortunately, I had math today.
Headphone warning.
It
Oh
was
yeah, I should have warned you guys. Lucky's not exactly a quiet person.
Nah, not really. Well, if you see me in person, yeah, I'm a quiet person. But once you get to know me, I won't be quiet. Lucky too loud as usual. Well, actually, TRD's been complaining that he can't hear me, so that's on him.
Okay, well that is when I am driving a NASCAR on a game with a spotter screaming in my ear, going 100
Two
and
wide, three wide, three wide.
195 miles per hour in a 4 wide pack of 40 cars. Yeah, I can't hear you. But when it's nice and quiet, we're talking about weather. Yeah, Lucky's voice is a world-ending threat.
No, I wouldn't say that now.
Okay. So what do you think about the severe threat, Lucky? I know you've been looking at it, right?
I mean, honestly, I think it's actually a pretty decent risk. Honestly,
Oh, which one?
definitely Friday. Definitely
Ah,
Friday. I
this
know it's
dude just
still
chose the safe bet. He looked at the SPC and saw the enhancement. Yep, that day.
no. I've been keeping track, but obviously, I mean, yes, it's still a little further. I mean, I know it's 2 days away, but still, we'll really get like a understanding, like a bigger understanding tomorrow.
Yeah. So don't freak out when
Um,
the 00ZH shows 5 supercells in Oklahoma, all discrete in a violent
yeah,
environment.
yeah, today, yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Like the HRR is gonna go. I like how it's either one way or the other. Either the HRR is gonna initiate nothing, or it's gonna initiate a bunch of supercells. There's no in between, really. Speaking of that, I mean, if we go to the
uh,
0Z from last night, you could see how that initiated only 2 little storms there in Texas. And then look at the new one. Look at the difference. See, that is why we wait. That is why we wait. Huge difference between the HRR last night and the HRR today. Now, that could go either way. It could go reverse. The 00Z tonight could show something like this with 3 crazy supercells in Oklahoma, and then we end up trending downwards tomorrow. That's just the life of the HRR. It goes everywhere. It goes everywhere. It doesn't stay consistent. Lucky knows that when we try to storm chase.
oh yeah, dude. Oh man.
You just go
Dude,
to the most potent environment and just wait, because the HRR is going to throw supercells from western North Carolina to eastern North Carolina, and then nothing ends up happening.
Yeah, and then I say this all the time because I don't. Fun fact, yo.
Hold on. I got a button. Did you see the new SPC outlooks? Because like they're so clean.
Yeah,
I love these
dude.
things.
Dude. It reminded me. What does it remind me of?
I don't know.
Is it IEM bot?
Oh yeah, yep.
It reminds me of that. I looked at it this morning. I was like, wait a minute.
This looks different.
Wait, this ain't the SPC. I thought this is IEM bot. Oh,
nope.
I had to look and make sure I typed the right website.
Do you like how when you turn on cities, instead of it saying Raleigh, North Carolina, it says Durham? I don't know why they chose the less populated city.
Well, Durham actually, the town above Raleigh, is actually becoming a lot more populated.
Are you sure
It's a
about
lot
that?
more. Yeah.
But they fixed it. Like they had a town that was actually in New York State. They actually had it in New Jersey. So they've
Oh
been
wow.
fixing the cities. People said it was AI generated for the cities. I don't know. I don't know how you can prove that. Like normally when it's AI generated, I can tell because of the spelling. But
I saw Caleb say something. Lucky. How's college? I mean, so far it's not that bad.
it's getting worse
It's
though, huh?
it's getting worse though. It's getting worse. Like it's still bearable right now, but I have a feeling that come to the next term in April, I think Tier is gonna be hearing a lot of Lucky freaking out. I have a feeling.
Yeah, Melissa
Um,
got retired today. Yep, Melissa's no longer on the NHC's what is it? What do you reoccurring hurricane name schedule? They rotate it like if you get like when was it? Isaias was 2018. I think they do it every 8 years. So like Melissa would have came back in 2034. Yeah, Melissa would have came back in 2034 if it didn't get retired.
let's see.
Or is it every 6 years, Ben? Ben, it must be every 6 years then. It's either every 6 or every 8 years.
Oh, by the way, guys, I can't tell y'all. Only Chirgy knows this, but for every single hurricane named this season, I have a special name for it. You can ask TRG.
6 years? Okay. You're the one with the hurricane profile picture, so I trust you more than me. So then Melissa would have came back in 2032, but now it's retired, so it won't be used again. It's difficult, man. I got to go through 4 different seasons, you know? There's a lot of stuff to know about the weather. I forget.
Yeah.
They took away my town on
Alright.
there. Yeah, they took away Tulsa. I saw Catman complaining about that. Go ahead.
About what?
Go ahead, complain.
Who, me?
Yeah.
About what?
I don't know. You were trying to say something.
Caleb, you said what are my grades though? TRG can vouch for me. He saw my grades. I'm getting A's and B's.
You're right,
He can
Ben.
vouch for me. I mean,
Yeah, Melissa would have came back in 2031. But anyways, it's not coming back again. Thank goodness that name is gone. Never to be used
and then
again. But yes, Lucky is actually getting like high end B's and A's in college. Now, I haven't seen him on this new term yet. I don't know if you've gotten anything
I gotta show you.
graded, but I'm sure they're not
I
as
have.
good.
Let's see.
Pittsburgh? Yeah, like really, you can tell like even like West Virginia doesn't have a single name here. I feel like what is it, Charleston, West Virginia? Is that right?
I think so. Well,
Yeah, Charleston,
I
West
consider
Virginia. Like we're missing Charleston, West Virginia. We're missing Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Lake Charles, Louisiana, Tulsa, Oklahoma, Kansas City, Missouri. Let's see, Paducah, Kentucky, because I know that's very populated too. Like we're missing some pretty big city names. Raleigh, I know there's Durham, but I feel like Raleigh should be on there. instead of
yeah,
Durham.
no. Raleigh's more populated, but what I was saying is, Durham is definitely getting more populated
I just want to
for sure.
check.
So
Yeah, that's the
TRG
capital of NC, right? I'm not.
well,
not
Raleigh,
dumb.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it
I'm
is.
pretty
It
sure
is,
it's
it is.
Raleigh.
It's either Raleigh or Charlotte. I know that.
Pretty sure it's Raleigh.
I think it's Raleigh. I should know this, but I'm pretty sure it's Raleigh. I'm pretty sure
Bro
it's
don't know
Raleigh.
his own capital.
Nah, I stuck with capitals, yo. I don't know why.
I ain't even gonna lie. I'm horrible with them too. I only know Virginia and NC.
TRG, you can see right here at the top right. So
Oh yeah,
so far,
let me just completely dox you, Lucky.
I don't think my name is on here. Oh,
What do you mean? It's right there. It's big bold letters. I can see it.
Hold up, wait, hold on. See what we gotta
You might
do
as well
here.
put your social security on there.
See, now what we gotta do is just do this.
This dude.
Grades for Lucky. All right, guys. So TRG can vouch for me. I have so far from the stuff that's been graded, I have a 100 in one class, and the
Okay.
other class, I do. You want me to refresh the page?
Columbus,
Think I'm
Ohio.
lying?
That's a big one missing too. Oh, yeah,
I mean,
where's Des Moines, Iowa too? Okay, yeah, they definitely need to update. Yeah, Knoxville, Tennessee. Man, so there's a lot. There's a lot. Let's circle those too. There you go. There's a bunch more that are missing. So those are like all the city names that we need to be added there. Oh yeah, Tupelo, Northeast Mississippi, like right up in here. Huntsville, Alabama too.
They should put Orlando in Florida.
Where's Orlando even at? Oh, where's Tallahassee? They ain't got Tallahassee there. Yeah.
They ain't got
Mobile, yeah.
They ain't got Charleston. They ain't got Myrtle Beach.
Myrtle Beach isn't really. San Francisco. Oh my goodness, they're literally. You guys can't see it, but they are missing San Francisco. Wow.
All right. Yeah, yo, I just wanted to come say hi. I missed y'all. And Ben said, "Lucky stream, we miss you." I miss y'all too. Tier just gonna say all
He's
this
not gonna
cap.
restream. Man, I miss you guys too, but I still won't be live for the next 9 to 12 months.
No, that's cap. Storm chasing season around the corner. They know.
If y'all know you have spare time, bro. All you gotta do is hit the live button. It ain't that difficult to just hit live and sit.
You're right. You're right. It's not.
Now I will say when you go after like 2 to 3 hours, yeah, that does get a little bit more difficult. But like an hour, hour and a half, even upwards of 2 hours, it's not that difficult.
Yeah. Oh, bro.
And that's Lucky's reaction to being doxxed.
No, Tier. No, this is what.
Oh, never mind. Just stop sharing his screen.
It's backwards, but look, can you see who that name
is?
Oh,
yeah. He just joined the chat.
Oh.
Yeah, I pulled this up because we were looking. Lucky, did you see the 5% Sig 1 tornado risk tomorrow?
Yep.
That sucker looks clean. I love the new outlooks.
That's what he said.
Yep, that's him for you.
Yep.
So Lucky, are you ready to be in a 90% triple sig?
For what? Sunshine? Yeah.
For wind?
Sunshine.
I wonder if we'll ever see that. Like, I feel like that might even be more rare than a 60 sig tour from the last.
Would they have 90 now?
Yeah, 90 triple sig wind.
Yo, that's not. Yo,
90 triple sig. So
that
would be
no.
That would be a 90% chance every 25 miles of a given point for winds of or greater than 94 miles per hour.
And I'd still somehow be the 10% that doesn't get it.
A 90% that somebody in a 25-mile radius gets 94 or greater mile-an-hour winds. That's insane. Still got that severe one.
Can you mute me real quick?
Arkansas, sure. You're muted. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. Yeah. All right, Lucky wants to say bye to you guys. Go ahead.
Bye, y'all. I miss y'all. I miss y'all. I promise I'm not laughing at y'all. I'm laughing at something else. I miss y'all. Trust me. When the time comes, it'll happen. I will.
I just left the call.
And then, we got store chasing season.
Did I leave the call? I didn't realize.
Oh, you didn't realize? Oh, it's okay, bro.
I'm not leaving. Just Lucky is, thankfully. Oh, I mean, no, not.
That's all right. Sorry, man.
Hey, wait. You should be able to stream with me Friday, right? Or do you got plans?
If you want to mute me.
What? Oh, you did tell me that. I mean, there's still a chance you could fit in like an hour. I won't be live at 10 o'clock. Nope. I ain't sitting here for 7 hours for a slight risk. You got me messed up. Unless it's like, that violent tour in Texas, Matador, in 2023. When does time go for it? I forgot. Yeah, it should be very. Yeah, it should be very, very soon. Hey, okay, you Google it. Yeah, this Sunday, 4 days. Oh no. We gotta pull an all-nighter, Lucky. That's the easiest time in of the year to pull an all-nighter. I mean, I know Saturday will have severe weather, but probably not Sunday. All right, get out of here, Lucky. You gotta go, bro. Yeah, yep. 9 minutes. Yeah, you gotta go. All right, bye.
If you wanna. Oh wait, hold up. Hold
Yeah,
on, wait.
I unmuted you again. So
30
bye.
seconds. Oh, bye.
Wait, what? 30 seconds.
Wait, 30 seconds. Hold on. Look. Mute me again.
Okay. This guy, man. See, this is the problem with Lucky Colin. You can't get rid of him. He's like that pesky fly you keep hearing in your room for a week straight. Okay. Can I go talk to my chat again? Yeah. Sure. Tonight. Sure. Want to say bye one more time? All right, go ahead.
Bye, chat. Love y'all. Miss
Bye.
y'all. I'll be back. Happy March,
Hopefully
I
Friday,
guess.
maybe.
Hopefully Friday. Friday could be it. Y'all stay tuned.
Okay, get out of here. Bye.
All right, bye.
All right, hold on. I saw a good question from Brooklyn up there. What do they mean by 3 SIGs? So, oh my goodness. I'm telling you, he's like a fly. You can't get rid of him. Now he's a mosquito. What? Oh my goodness. What the heck? Oh man, this dude sometimes. All right. There's 3 different SIGs. 3 different SIGs because we got 3 different hazards for severe weather. So, if I can get this correct here. So you've got tornado SIGs. So here is your tornado probabilities. You have a 2%, 5%, 10%, 15%, 30%, 45%, and 60%. So for SIG, this is no SIG. This is no SIG. So this is just your ordinary 2% TOR, 5% TOR, 10% TOR, and then the 15%, which you're not going to see often whatsoever. So those are just your normal non-SIG tornado risks. And then you move to SIG 1. 2% SIG 1 is a 2% chance for a strong tornado of EF2 intensity every 25 miles of a given point. So instead of it being of EF2 plus intensity for a SIG 1, last time it used to be we'd only have 1 SIG. We'd have just our normal hatched significant risk. It would be an EF2 or greater tornado. In this case, it's a EF2 tornado, not greater than an EF2 tornado or EF2 plus. So this is max intensity of EF2, max intensity of EF3, and max intensity of EF4 or EF5 for SIG 3. So if you have a SIG 3 15%, let's say that is a moderate 15%. And then SIG 3. That is a moderate risk 4 out of 5. So that would be every 15, every 25 miles of a given point, there's a 15% chance for a maximum intensity EF4 tornado or EF5 tornado. Now that doesn't mean you're going to see an EF4 tornado every 25 miles of given point. And that is why if we go down here, or up here actually, you could see in their SIG 3 grouping, most of the tornadoes in the SIG 3 grouping were actually still EF0 to EF1s. And only 5% of tornadoes were EF4 or greater in the SIG 3 hatching area. But when you compare that to SIG 2, you could see how much it jumps. So only 1% in the less than a SIG 1 group were EF4 plus. SIG 1, still 1%. SIG 2, a 3%. 3% of tornadoes inside that SIG 2 grouping were EF4 plus intensity, and then 5%. So statistically, a SIG 3 has verified for EF4 plus tornadoes a whole lot better than SIG 2. Especially when you look at like the EF3, look at the EF3 category. For EF3 tornadoes for SIG 2, only 9% of tornadoes in that category hit EF3 intensity. Whereas for SIG 3, 14%. So SIG 3 is a lot more accurate on higher end days, and that's probably only because they've issued it. I don't know how many times they've issued it, but I imagine, probably just a handful of times in the last 5. When did this go into effect? They started like testing it in 2018. So that was 8 years ago. Holy crap. That makes you feel old. I believe they started testing this in 2018. And then it really, they were really starting to perfect it last year. So that's your info for your tornado one. And then you go into wind. And this is just as confusing, let's be honest, because it's pretty confusing. It takes a while to get used to. So less than SIG 1, that's your normal. A 5% chance every 25 miles of a given point for damaging winds of roughly 58 miles per hour, which is considered non-significant. SIG 1 is where that jumps up. That's where you have a 5% chance every 25 miles of a given point for damaging winds of, which means equal to or greater than 74 miles per hour. So a SIG 1 risk, you could see winds of 74 miles per hour or greater. SIG 2, that's where you jump to we're still using 5% here, a 5% chance every 25 miles of a given point for damaging winds equal to or greater than 84. Wow, that's crazy. 84 miles per hour. Imagine that. 5% chance for 84 mile an hour winds. That seems... When would they even use that? We don't typically have conditional wind risks, really. That's, you're not going to see that much at all. 5% chance every 25 miles of a given point for 84 mile an hour winds or greater. And then you can't get a SIG 3 with a 5% chance. Can't get a SIG 3 with a 15%. Can't even get a SIG 3 with a 30%. You got to go all the way up to a 45% wind risk to see a SIG 3, and that jumps it straight into the high category. So for damaging winds, a SIG 3 risk, you can only get a high risk for. High risk, high risk, high risk, high risk. So in this case, a 45% wind risk, SIG 3, that would be... Every 25 miles of a given point, there's a 45% chance for maximum intensity damaging winds of 94 miles per hour or greater. So that increases your damaging wind threat extremely, extremely crazy. And in this case, normally we would have to see a derecho ongoing for these cases, any of these. Most, if not nearly every time, you're going to be talking about a derecho ongoing when you see a SIG 3 45% or greater. All right, I'm going to pull this chart out so I get the hail risk right. I don't know why I didn't just pull this out earlier, because I could have said this incorrectly on accident because I'm still trying to learn it. Okay, no. I haven't said anything wrong. Yeah, SIG 1 wind, 74 mile an hour winds or greater. SIG 2 wind, 84 mile an hour winds or greater. SIG 3, 94 mile an hour winds or greater. Usually a high end derecho ongoing for SIG 3. And then for hail, which can you see that? Yep, that's on the far right side of your screen. SIG 0, which is nothing. This one right here, that's no SIG. 5% chance every 25 miles of a given point for hailstones equal to or less than 2 inches in diameter. And then SIG 1, 5% chance every 25 miles of a given point for large hail equal to or greater than 2 inches in diameter. And then the big boy, SIG 2 here, I think I said that right. SIG 2, that's the big one. There's no SIG 3. SIG 2 is a 5% chance. This is crazy. Brace yourself for this one. If you actually manage to get a SIG 2 5% hail risk, that is a 5% chance every 25 miles of a given point for hailstones equal of or greater than 3.75 inches in diameter. Is it 7.5 or 0.35? I've heard both. It looks like, I think it's 3.5. I believe it's hailstones greater than 3.5 inches in diameter for SIG 2. Yeah. Gracious day. So just to re-explain that in simple terms, SIG 3 for tornadoes of peak intensity of EF4 or EF5, damaging winds SIG 3, damaging winds of 94 miles per hour or greater. Hail SIG 2, hailstones equal of or greater than 3.5 inches in diameter. Yeah, it really does, Ben, doesn't it? It feels a whole lot more complex than it needs to be. Now you know why it's going to be taking, it's going to take us a long time to get used to this stuff. It's going to take a long time. But we'll try. We'll get used to it. We will get used to it. I don't know why people find this hard. Buddy, it's an entirely new probability system for something that we have known almost our entire lives. In this chat, a lot of you guys didn't track weather before 2011. And that is when the SPC updated to our previous outlooks. They had, in 2011, they updated to those filled in contours of a general thunderstorm risk, a marginal, a moderate, and a high. And then in 2014, they added slight risk and enhanced risk, I believe. Or was slight risk a thing? Gracious, Stacy, I don't even know. Let's go back to 2011. So in 2011, they had no marginal. It was slight, moderate, high. Slight, moderate, high in 2011. Slight, moderate, high in 2011. And then in 2014, they added the enhanced risk and the marginal risk. And then in 2026, they have now added SIG groups, which is SIG 1, SIG 2, and SIG 3. So there was a full 12-year gap where we didn't see updates from the SPC in terms of any major updates. This is the first major update in 12 years. So that's why it's hard to understand, because most of you guys were probably very young. I mean, shoot, even I was 8 years old. I was 8 years old the last time the SPC had a major update. I'm turning 21 this year. So that should tell you something. So those are the three main updates again. 2011 was the first big update from the SPC. That is when they filled in those contours of slight, moderate, high. And then in 2014, they added the marginal risk and the enhanced risk. And then again in 2026, now we have these new SIG groups. Very complex. Very, very complex. But like I said, we'll get used to it. It's just going to take some learning. You're going to have to bear with me. I'm going to mess up a lot. But I'm sure others are going to mess up a lot too. But that's why still like the main thing the general public is going to be looking at here is this. You're still really going to be looking at this risk, right? Most meteorologists, most major outlets are only going to show this, the categorical risk, which is an easy chart from general thunderstorm risk, which is a level 0, to a level 1, marginal, level 2, slight, and then you can see down here, enhanced 3, moderate 4, high risk 5. That's still very, very simple. And then there's your damaging wind probabilities, and again, that's where things get a little bit more complicated with the wind threats, the hail threat, and the tornado threat. So just to go over that, for today, we have a 5% in the brown and a 2% chance for tornadoes every 25 miles of a given point. The likely max intensity of these will be EF0, EF1, very weak tornadoes. Damaging winds, we have a 5% in the brown, 15% in the yellow. Every 25 miles of a given point, you have a 5 and or 15% chance of seeing damaging winds roughly around 58 miles per hour. There is no hatched areas on here, so wind gusts should not exceed 74 miles per hour. We should have mainly our wind gusts should be anywhere between 58 and 74 miles per hour. And then our hailstones here, 5% and a 15%. So you have either a 5% or a 15%, depending on which one you're in. Every 25 miles of a given point of maximum hailstones upwards of 2 inches in diameter, likely no greater than that. And then we have tomorrow's outlook, which is different. That's where we got our hatching at. So now we have really 4 different things here. Actually, 3. You have the normal 2%, you have the 2 hatched area, and then the 5 hatched area. 3 different risks on your tornado risk. In the green area, non-hatched, you have a 2% chance for tornadoes every 25 miles of a given point. The maximum intensity of them should be EF0 to EF1, so very weak. Then if you're in the hatched green area, which is right where my cursor is, that green area hatched with the black outline, 2% chance every 25 miles of a given point for maximum intensity tornadoes of EF2. And then you move into the 5%, and it's still the same saying there. It's just a 5% chance now every 25 miles of a given point for maximum intensity of an EF2 tornado. So we do have the chance for a strong tornado or two tomorrow. And then again, I'm a little bit surprised we don't have a higher probability hail risk. We do have, you can see the hatched area. So that's a 15% chance and a 5% chance of large hail equal to or greater than 2 inches in diameter if you're in that hatched area. Roughly in there. And I do think we are going to end up seeing a second hatched area for hailstones equal to or greater than 3.5 inches in diameter somewhere in here. That might be a little bit too far north. And then we got our day 3 outlook. That's our main day. We have our main enhanced risk level 3 out of 5 on that. So there's your level 0, level 1, level 2, and your level 3. And guess what? We got a hatched risk on that too. So this one I actually don't know the full probabilities behind for the hatched risk, so I'm not going to mention it. But just know there's a chance for significant severe weather if you're in the hatched area. Okay. Yeah, they did mention strong tornadoes possible down in here somewhere. somewhere in all these words. That was in their last discussion, though. I don't see it in this one. I sent it to someone. The initial setup is what it started with. Yeah, I don't see him mentioning strong tornadoes in this newer discussion because remember they updated this. The morning discussion did have that. They did have at least a couple tornadoes with long-lived supercells, and they did mention a strong tornado threat. But I don't see that here. They do have the most probable corridor for tornadoes, which of course is the enhanced risk area. But I do not see them mentioning strong tornadoes anymore. Available day 3 cam guidance is much less robust than degree of convection. Lowest confidence in the southern extent of the enhanced risk for most of Oklahoma. Yeah, but I think it is a good idea. I think it is a good idea to keep that 30% there. They may remove that because it looks like the damaging wind threat is going to be highest up here. But the thing is, we're probably going to have a better chance for tornadoes down in here. I just don't know if that's going to be worthy of the a 30 hatched wind risk down there. We'll have to see what they end up doing at the day 2 outlook tomorrow. Here's a new HRRR. It really doesn't show anything impressive today. Like I said, I really just think we're going to see maybe a weak tornado or two. A couple hailstones of 1 inch in diameter. A couple damaging wind gusts around 60 miles per hour. And if one of these storms can really get themselves going, either one in Texas, this one in Texas near Dallas, will have a better chance for large hail, maybe closer to 1.5, 1.75 inch in diameter. And I wouldn't rule out if we can get a supercell in that more prime corridor for tornadoes. It wouldn't shock me if we do get a brief, strong tornado. But that's very conditional. Personally, I don't see a whole lot coming from today. It's very conditional. That tornado threat is all... It's all going to be about if storms can stay discreet enough and long enough, which I don't think is going to happen. And it's... The strong tornado threat is extremely conditional. You would have to have a discrete supercell in that prime environment all on its own at the right time in order for you to get a brief, strong tornado. So that's why we don't have any hatched risk out for today, because it's just too conditional of a tornado threat. But you can see we do have a 5%. I mean, if there is going to be a chance for a brief, strong tornado, it would be very close to, if not in that 5% risk. So as for tomorrow, tomorrow's risk is definitely going to be a little bit on the later side of things, it looks like. We may have storms fire as soon as 5 p.m. That looks to be like the earliest. So I'll plan to go live. I'll probably go live. We'll probably cover tomorrow, honestly. As long as I'm up for it, my energy bar isn't too low. We'll probably go live roughly around 5 p.m. and then stream for at least 2, maybe 3 hours. And the reason why I say 2 to 3 is because I'd like to cover the start of this, because once you go after 2 to 3 hours, these storms are going to be getting in the infamous Western Oklahoma radar hole. Good old-fashioned Western Oklahoma radar hole, man. So I would not mind covering the first 2 to 4-ish hours of the event around Amarillo, Texas. And then once they get past that radar site, yeah, nope. So we'll plan to be live roughly from 5 p.m. Up till, like, I don't know, sometime near 7, 8 Eastern. That's the plan. Now, we could go live a little sooner or could go live a little later. We'll just have to wait and see. And then Friday, I don't know when I'll be live Friday, but I'm probably going to consider doing a morning briefing on Friday. Considering it's an all-day event, I'm not, unless it goes moderate, I'm not going to be sitting here for like 6 to 10 hours covering it. Let's see. Uh, Caleb, yeah. Yes, it can. But as long as that stuff gets out of here soon, it won't be a big issue. Like you can see, yeah, as long as that stuff's out of there by noon or before. So as long as like this is exiting Kansas by noon. This is about 9, roughly 8, 9 a.m. And you can see those storms are exiting Kansas. Now, I would watch for an outflow boundary, by the way. If you do get a big line like that, it would not shock me if we end up getting like an outflow boundary of some sorts that tries to set up across central Oklahoma. So we'll have to watch for that. That could be a little sneaky area of convection. Or a sneaky area for just storms to fire off of. Day 2 high is impossible. If you're talking about actually being impossible, it's not. If you're talking about for Friday's setup, heck yeah, it is. I would be blown away if we even managed to get a moderate out of it. At any time. It honestly, at this point, it would shock me if Friday goes moderate at any update. Day 3 highs are indeed impossible. Over 2 years since we had an F4 in Omaha. We are overdue. Last time we had an F4, the F4 scale actually is no longer in use. It's EF. So last time we had an EF4 was Elkhorn, which I believe was April 26th, 2024. So almost 2 years. The last time my area had an EF4, never. EF4s are not common. So like 2 EF4s going down the same area, you're not going to get that much at all. The separation between those 2 EF4s is going to be multiple years. Most people go their entire lives without being hit by an EF4. So, you can't really say you're overdue for one. Or you're due for one. Not many areas get hit by 2 EF4s ever. $200-mile radius. Well, gracious, that changes everything because that's a giant radius. It's like, isn't that like freaking half the state of Iowa? Yeah, dude, that's literally like half the freaking state of Iowa. Like, what? I don't really consider Omaha a 200-mile radius. Yeah, I don't consider that a 200-mile radius. Could there be supercells in Central Texas on Friday? Yeah, definitely possible. It is definitely possible. Good news is probably not going to be much of a tornado threat. Bad news is if they do form, they're probably going to be a pretty big hail threat. Here's one of the models that go far out, and you can see it does indeed fire a few supercells Friday. Let's see what time this is. This is actually into their... What in the world? Okay, that's today. That's tomorrow. That's Friday. Friday evening. It fires a few Friday evening, roughly about 8 p.m. across Central Texas, down in here. And then Saturday actually could be interesting for Texas too. Saturday, I doubt it's going to be this big of a line, but like this model run wants a really good severe threat across like this whole area on Saturday, as well as back up in here on Saturday. So we'll have to watch both of those areas. Really, honestly, we're going to be watching all along this region for the potential of severe weather on this upcoming Saturday. But I can tell you if that does happen, yeah, Texas is definitely looking at hail and wind being the main threat. I don't think Texas will be under the gun for a good tornado threat out of any of these storms. Now, we could see a brief tornado out of one of these storms one of the days. That could be today, that could be Friday evening, or that could be Saturday afternoon. You'll at least be in the threat for a brief weak tornado somewhere in Texas. You could see now you're under a 2% in Dallas going down towards Waco. April 28th? You mean April 27th? Was it April 27th? Now you got me confused. Was April 27th last year? TRG nailed the forecast for an active March. Heck yeah, I did. I knew I should have pushed that tornado, the potential for tornadoes on that map, that tornado season forecast, up to the north. I did a sharp cutoff, like right in here, or a little bit to the south, and I should have pulled that more north. I mean, even though I don't think we're going to be seeing a good tornado threat further up north, so... I mean, so far that outlook is, I didn't have enough people under that outlook for March. But, I mean, like half that outlook that I had for March that I made 4 days ago, half of the main area on that is under the enhanced risk. I had the main area going into southern Oklahoma and central Oklahoma. So... really good, actually, now that I look at it. Actually, a really good forecast. We'll see how it verifies towards the middle and end of March, too. Trey also called for an active March. Yeah, I watched his forecast. This... like, literally, I had some of the same analogs as him picked out. And I will say one analog that I didn't have, and then when I looked at it because of his video, was 2023. I didn't have that analog. But I had a few analogs that he picked out, too, before I even watched his video. That made me happy, because I literally picked out those analogs. I picked out some literally 2 months ago. I started working on this tornado season forecast literally in, like, late December. Late December into January, I was working on the tornado season forecast already. And the reason why is because you have to observe how the models are handling the ENSO phases. So... and then, yes, I'm of course going to admit that I watched Trey's forecast and then made sure that my forecast was at least somewhat in line with him. Because if there's one thing that I want my tornado season forecast to reflect, it's to reflect that I'm not disagreeing with Trey. Because Trey is, like, up there. He's probably one of the best forecasters for severe weather. So the last thing I want to do is disagree with something that he says by a large margin. Now, of course, your tornado season forecast is going to be different, so I didn't go to his video and copy everything he said and copy exactly what he did. No. No, I just made sure that I wasn't calling for a well above average season and he was saying well below average, you know? I didn't want to be off of, like, really far off of what he was saying. Because I know that his outlooks are probably going to verify. So, as long as I'm not too far off from what he says, I should be in a decent forecast. But like I said, I was forecasting before his video was well before it was out. Because I'm not going to copy him word for word. That's something called plagiarism. Don't want to do that. Yeah, Broyles and Trey, those are, in my opinion, the two best forecasters. And much of the SPC as well, too. But Broyles and Trey, those two stand out to me the most. The reason why Trey stands out to me so much is because I literally, like, my weather career is because of Trey. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't know a fraction of what I know about the weather. I grew up watching my local meteorologist, but when I really started to get into weather, Trey is the reason why I know everything I know. Let's see. Yeah, today's not a big severe weather day. Just make sure that that you're weather aware. If it gets rough, you could just stay away from doors, windows. You'll be perfectly fine. There is a chance for a weak tornado or two for today across this green and brown area. So, wouldn't shock me if we get a brief tornado or two today. Like I said, there is a very low chance we get a strong tornado, but I wouldn't be worrying about a strong tornado threat because it's such a small chance. Yeah, like I said, Knight, I'm not going to copy Trey. I wouldn't copy Trey. I just want to make sure I'm not too far off from his forecast. Like I said, I just don't want to be saying above average tornado season and then 2 days later watch Trey's forecast and he's like well below average. I'd be like, oh crap. Nope. No, thank you. And even from the get-go, I was saying this could be probably an average to below average season. I remember saying it back in like freaking the beginning of December. I remember saying that this tornado season was probably going to be average to below average. So that was already, that was already my thoughts for this tornado season. I'm pretty sure I said that literally. It was either in the beginning or the middle of December last year. Do you think Tuesday will be worse than Friday? Well, that depends on how Friday pans out and how Tuesday pans out. I don't know. I could tell you neither of them are great setups. Neither of them are great setups. Neither of them are like moderate risk caliber tornado type setups. I will say the trough is ejecting better on Tuesday, but the problem is it's still not great. It's still not like really good. So I wouldn't necessarily one is a better threat than the other, but I will say that Tuesday has a higher potential. Tuesday has a higher potential than Friday. The maximum ceiling for overall severe weather is higher on Tuesday compared to Friday. However, Tuesday could easily end up being significantly lower for severe weather than Friday. It just depends on how things trend. It's impossible to know. Caleb, I think you're the only one experiencing lag in this live stream. Normally, when there's a good amount of lag, at least there will be 3 to 4 people saying lag. But, like, I saw Caleb say lag like freaking an hour and a half ago. And then, like, not but 2 minutes ago, he just said lag again. I mean, I don't have lag, so it's on y'all's end. I'm watching my own stream right now. It's running smooth as butter. Arkansas Storm has a wall cloud. Yeah, wouldn't surprise me. It has that shape to it. It has a supercellular shape to it. I saw somebody say something about Illinois. Is there something happening in Southeast Illinois too? But yeah, we're probably going to want to watch that a little bit closer here. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to go check mesoanalysis. Okay. I mean, it could have a chance to produce a tornado, but man, that is a bad environment. Wolf. 79, 0 to 1 kilometer SRH. Heck nah, bruh. That's some North Carolina type environment right there. That thing don't got much shear at all. I will say that Cape is definitely working pretty well in its favor. Same with the temperature dew point spread and how much dew points we have. So it's not in a bad spot. It's almost on that boundary. It's close to that boundary and it's south of the boundary. So the main thing is it's not north of the boundary. If it's north of the boundary, that means it's elevated and wouldn't have much of a severe threat. So in this case, it is south of that boundary, so it has an all hazards threat with it. You know what's something I want to study more about meteorology? Let me just call myself out on this. I want to study why large hail can form in an environment with only 500 CAPE. Like, we're looking at giant hail for tomorrow. Hailstones probably between 2 to 4 inches in diameter. And we have CAPE at 500. I'm thinking it has something to do with dew points and mid-level instability. And even same for today. Even for today, we have a risk for large hail. You can see there's a updraft helicity track on that one, which means there's a risk for large hail and severe weather out of it, and 0 CAPE. So I really want to put a lot more research into that. I've researched some of it, but I want to learn a lot more about how hail forms with next to a little bit amount of lower level CAPE. Which I'm sure if I could pop a sounding here, I'd be able to tell you. I'm pretty confident it has something to do with the dew points. Matter of fact, let's do a Google search. Google's pretty stupid though, so. Let's see. So Google says it is because of enhanced vertical winds that lift moist air into freezing temperatures. Which makes a lot of sense to me. That makes sense. I mean, seems like that would be the case. But I have to do more research into that. I think I think I knew more about it last year than I did this year. Because, you know, when you go through a whole freaking 8 months without any, uh, well, we didn't go 8 months. It was more like 6 months without any good severe threats. You tend to lose those abilities to, you know, see these smaller scale things. Whether it be outflow boundaries, those heating boundaries like what we're dealing with for tomorrow, or something like why hail forms north of the best instability and north of a main boundary. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know already which chaser you're watching. Let's see. I'm gonna go through some chasers and see. Okay, maybe I don't know actually. Yeah, go ahead and name him. Yeah, just that way we can all see him. 1.25-inch hail. It shouldn't be elevated. It should be a surface-based storm because of those temperature dew points. I don't think Reed is on it. Reed said that he was targeting Texas. The thing is, I don't know where Reed is. But he said he was targeting Texas. All right, I'm gonna go back on this stream. Oh, that is the most. I don't even think that's a wall cloud, man. That looks more like a roll cloud. That sucker just looks like it's rolling along. Yeah, there's like no rotation with that. That actually looks outflow dominant on this. If there is rotation, it would be wrapped behind that roll cloud. I would call that more of a roll cloud, actually. It looks like a roll cloud. It is a roll cloud. Very scuddy roll cloud. But that could be the beginning stages of a supercell trying to develop. Just that's typically in association with outflow dominant storms. Radar presentation looks crazy. Yeah, you know, we can left click this, measure. Yeah, we're just scanning 115 miles away from the storm. Yeah. There's, if we had a radar close to this thing, I mean, it would look completely different. No, Sam, I mean, I could see how you mistake that for a wall cloud, and it could be a more rain-wrapped wall cloud. I can't show the feed, obviously, but like, so if you go back in that stream, like almost 4 minutes and look towards the left side, you can't see much of the left side of that. So like it could actually be wrapping around and then there could be more of a wall cloud behind that. But what that camera was mainly focused on looked more like a scud wall cloud to me. So let me kind of like draw this. So say Chaser's here, looking this way, and the roll cloud is like that, right? So you have a roll cloud that is rolling this way, and that's what the Chaser sees. It sees the roll cloud, and then it goes back into rain-wrapped mess back up here where the roll cloud is not as visible, and there is a chance, like, you know, it could wrap back up, like back in here. Or it would actually be in here, where it could ramp back up, and then you could have a roll, what looks like a roll cloud going this way, but there's actually a hidden meso right here. So what that would look like on radar would be the roll cloud moving to the southeast like this. Actually more to the east. The roll cloud moving east like this. And then a hidden meso back in here because it's rain wrapped. However, there's no way to know if there is indeed a wall cloud back there because it is rain wrapped. There could be a wall cloud. There could be absolutely nothing. Either way, this storm is in a pretty rough environment. And I'm not overly concerned about its tornado potential. New severe thunderstorm watch just got issued down here for Dallas, Fort Worth, a little bit more south of that as well, through Greenville, Texas, all the way back up into Fort Smith. I wonder if that is a higher hail threat. 1.5-inch hail likely, 70-mile-an-hour winds likely. It's actually a lower hail threat. It is actually a lower hail threat. All of these look like a bunch of junk. Catman, I have forgotten, so you are going to explain it to me. How does hail form in a low CAPE environment? For instance, today we have the chance for 1-inch hail north of our main boundary. And we have a chance for 1-inch hail that is literally in an environment with 0 CAPE. And then tomorrow we have a chance for 2 to 3-inch hail or so in an environment with only 500 CAPE. My recent finding and what I thought was moisture, just a lot of moisture, very moist atmosphere in the mid-level, right next to where temperatures are freezing, according to Google, where temperatures are near freezing. But I just think it's a very prolific moisture environment in the mid-levels. And then sure, maybe it is freezing temperatures in the mid-level too, like what Google says. Yeah, I'm rusty too. See, that's why I forgot it. Because I know last year I knew it for sure. And then I tried to think of it today. I'm like, you know what? What actually causes that? I forgot. I'd agree. Okay, bud. Thanks. A lot of help you are. I know, I'm very confident it has something to do with a very like thick moisture profile in the mid-level. A very large moisture profile. Yeah, but then I'm taking soundings for tomorrow and I don't see it as much. Then again, I can only use the NAM, so. Yeah, we'll have to watch that storm in southeast Oklahoma, but unfortunately we don't have a radar down there. Alright, here comes Pez. Higher K values cause a stronger updraft, which lessens the time that... With less cape, the hail is able to cycle in the updraft longer. Yeah, but still, I mean, with 0 cape, you know? I would get it if it's like less cape, maybe like 500 to 1,000, but when you're talking like 300 or less... The sounding I pulled here actually let me go more north. Man, where the heck is the boundary at? I gotta find where the cape is like 500. Actually, the cape's not that bad for tomorrow. Even north of the boundary, you still have like 700 to 1,000 cape. But see, I'm assuming, this is an assumption, it has something to do with the 7.5 to 8 Celsius kilometer lapse rates in the 3 to 6 kilometer range. Which is also what I was thinking as well. And then probably something also to do with a pretty good amount of moisture. Your moisture is actually, in the lower level, your moisture increased. So at the surface, it's 56 degree dew points, but actually at the lower level jet, it's closer to 60 dew points. I know that weaker wind shear allows for hail to cycle in the updraft longer. Yeah, yeah. But I mean, we're talking about a whole lot of wind shear for tomorrow, so I mean, you're looking at almost 400 surface to 3 kilometer SRH, so I doubt that would be the specific reason. But I'm just going to go with it's a combination of things. I think the biggest thing is high mid-level lapse rates, very moist mid and lower level for dew points. I think those are probably the two biggest things. And then maybe not a crazy amount of wind shear, possibly. But definitely would make sense if you have a more... Now, mid-level, that's where the hail forms. Your hail doesn't form at the surface. So, you know, your surface cape matters, but it doesn't... I wouldn't think that it would affect hail an insanely amount. I would think the mid-levels is really going to be a big thing. What about colder temperatures? I mean, it's just temperatures. One thing I'm noticing is these dew points are actually increasing a little bit with height in the lower levels. That's the biggest thing I'm noticing with soundings for tomorrow. Is your dew points are actually going from low mid 50s into the low 60s. So at the surface it's in the mid 50s, and then at the 850 millibar it's actually at the low 60s. Very interesting stuff. Very interesting stuff. Yeah, I was really good at math, but now get me to do some algebra and I won't have a clue. And I liked algebra too. I could probably learn much of what I learned in high school. I could probably learn it back in, shoot, 2 weeks. I'd say just give me 2 weeks. I'd learn much of it back. Now, what really hurt me was geometry. That hurt. I loved algebra until it got to, like, really bad algebra. Like, calculus? Yeah, calculus and geometry. Those were my weaknesses, especially geometry. But I loved normal math and algebra. Once you started pushing into geometry and calculus, that's when you start to hurt me. And probably my worst class was probably history. I was horrible at history, man. I couldn't remember none of those names. I was atrocious with that. Like, I only know absolute bare basic history. I'm not gonna say that, but just know that there was one basic history thing that I literally forgot, and I learned it through freaking YouTube shorts. That's how bad I was with history. I was in the mindset that you know, you let the past be the past. So my brain didn't really process history. I still got an A in it, just I can't remember like anything from it. What am I still doing live? It's almost 6 o'clock. I'm just yapping past 2 hours now, like it's a freaking moderate risk or something. I don't know, I'll just sit here till I feel hungry. Oh, man. Realization set in that I'm having like my longest live stream in months. What about Texas? Around the Dallas area is where you have the best chance for severe weather today. Roughly around the Dallas area. If you got put into that new severe thunderstorm watch, you could see in pink. All I know is that I had a very high GPA. But like I said, ask me like pretty much anything from school. I'm not going to be able to tell you any of it because I've forgotten so much of it. But weather has kept me sharp for science. Like I could still, my brain knows a lot about science, probably more than I did in school, honestly. I research science a lot. And same with math. I think I could really learn chemistry, which is partially science, math, those 3 things. Science, chemistry, math. I can learn all those 3 really good. History, you're going to barely get me to learn any of that, man. Which is why I think I wouldn't do too bad with meteorology if I go in a major for meteorology for 4 years. The only problem is, like I said, I hate geometry, which I know weather is at least a bit of geometry, and then I know it's a lot of, is it calculus, Catman? You would know. Catman went a lot more in depth for meteorology than I did. At least, that's what I think, because I'm pretty sure he knows more than I do at this point. Indianapolis. I mean, a lot of thunder and a lot of rain coming through, but nothing that will be severe. I think Indy's best chance for severe weather will be Friday night into Saturday morning. The thing is, I don't know where I would go. Like, I would love to go and get my meteorology degree, but I don't know if it's worth it. This is the new meteorology. The age of, turning on your TV and learning weather from TV is dying. This is meteorology right here. What I'm doing. So I just don't know if it would be worth me going into meteorology. I feel like it would be better for me to go into a field that pays more and is more stable than storm chase on the side. Make sure I have a good full-time job, and then whenever I'm able to, storm chase on the side and do this on the side too. So, well, I'll figure it out. I'm still kind of in that waiting process, but I'm learning more about meteorology, so. How good your reputation would be if you were a degree meteorologist. I don't want to think about that. I screw up a lot. I don't want to really be a degree meteorologist because how much I screwed up, I don't think I'd be that reliable. Just being honest, I don't think I would be. I like being a weather enthusiast and well knowledgeable weather enthusiast. Because at least I'm able to screw up and people not be like, how do you have a degree? How did you go for 4 years? You still don't know this. How'd you go to college for 4 to 8 years and you still don't know this basic thing? Whereas with a weather enthusiast, I could say I'm self-taught. I learned from YouTube and books. And like I said, I have a college book for meteorology. Hey, maybe that's got something about hail in it. I'm really interested in this hail thing, about how hail forms without I always assumed that it was just more hail. I knew it had something to do with moisture, but I want to figure out how it could be low cape, huge hail. I want to figure more of that out. One of you guys mentioned somebody who studies hail, and I know him. I've seen a lot of his research. Let me see. Yeah, I mean, I know nobody can know exactly how hail forms or tornadoes form, but I can at least, try to learn, Hold on, I might end up buying some classes or a month subscription of the of Trey's tornado or storm chase coaching class. Might end up doing that. See, that's probably just as good as a meteorology degree. Think about it. Cuz you got a bunch of the most knowledgeable people ever in meteorology talking about the weather and teaching you about the weather, as opposed to going to college for meteorology where you're not going to solely focus on meteorology. And you can also do that, the coaching thing you could do on your own time over the span of, they can't have too much content there, right? Maybe 1 to 2 weeks instead of freaking 4 years in college. Yes, there's hail, some small hail maybe falling in Texas, but there's no large hail. Like these storms, as they start to explode more, will have a chance for some small hail, maybe up to an inch in diameter. But a lot of this stuff is clustered. There's a lot of storms around the storm, and that's going to prevent it from really tapping into the full environment to where things end up, becoming a big issue. Like when we're talking about 2+ inch hail, I don't think we'll see any hailstones larger than 2 inch today. I'd be very surprised if we see a larger than 2 inch hail. We've had a few severes for 1.25 and 1.5. But those have been in Oklahoma and Arkansas. Trade school? The heck is that? Is that where you like trade your school or something? Like what? I don't know what that is. Trade school? That doesn't sound too good. Sounds scary. I'd rather go to college. Cell splits work a lot in favor for hail. Nudgers, maybe, but I know cell splits are the big thing for hail. You got that left split, goes and produces like 3-4 inch hail on a high end day. And then the right split goes and produces a tornado. Dangerous. Trade school. Oh, it's a shorter college? Why don't they just call it quick college? I don't know. Why is it called trade school? That made it sound scary. Is a tornado going to hit mid-Missouri? You have a chance for tornadoes, yes, for mid-Missouri on Friday. Definitely want to be watching out, especially if you are in west to southwest Missouri. Along, I think really this area is the main area to watch in Missouri. And then you'll probably be under the risk for severe weather, maybe even tornadoes. Also, on Tuesday in central and southwestern Missouri. I agree with the enhanced risk from the SPC. I agree with the SPC on that. I've agreed with them ever since they put it out. So far, there's not been anything I severely disagree with the SPC. There's been a lot of borderline hate on the SPC for this outlook, to be honest with you, on Twitter. I mean, it really, like the other day, it was pushing hateful towards the SPC. Okay, there's the rest of the Sphere Watch. I'm like, what the heck? Half the watch just disappeared. Let's see. Columbia, Missouri. I can't give you a probability on your tornado threat yet because it's too far out, but the good news is you are further away from the main threat. The main threat is just off to your west-southwest. The reason hailstones are bigger is thanks to dry air evaporation, which allows the hailstones to be around, if not cooler than the air temperature, allowing it to be bigger than in a high-end threat. Huh? I gotta reread that in my mind this time. I'll do some research on hail. Like I said, I'm not. I know how hail works, how it forms, and everything like that, but I want to see how hail can form outside of a potent environment, or at least a good environment with cape. That's what I'm interested in, because I've seen it a lot where north of the boundary, elevated storms are just that, elevated storms, and they therefore produce large hail north of that boundary. And then when you have storms that are attached to the boundary or south of the boundary, they actually produce less hail. So it's almost as if, like, in some instances, less cape is better for hail. Which that's the part that I'm interested in, that I want to research more on. Yeah, this storm's dying off, thankfully. Still produces a severe threat, poses a severe threat, rather, as it's moving to the east and northeastern Arkansas, but not a big threat. Nobody here thinks it's dangerous that anyone with an internet access can get this level of knowledge on any topic. And I think it's awesome. What do you mean? That's the good side of the internet, my guy. That's like the best side of the internet that you're talking right there. I have the opportunity to save lives because of what I've researched on the internet and learned from experience through the internet and just learning things. And I mean, same goes for books. I mean, you can get this knowledgeable from buying books. I mean, personally, I love it. I think that's awesome. I mean, sure, there's some topics that would be more dangerous than others for sure on the internet, but you know, if you're talking about big topics, well, then you're going to get flagged by the FBI. If we're talking about really bad topics. But if we're just talking about like weather, like, no, that's awesome. I would encourage anybody to get more knowledgeable through the internet about weather. Now, you do got to be careful where you go with the sources, but most sources are not trying to mislead you when it comes to forecasting weather. A lot of them are just trying to explain it to the best of their abilities. Instance, me. I don't know everything about the weather, but I can try my best to explain it to you, and that might mean I sometimes don't know how hail or a tornado forms, but you can forget. I don't see any good rotation around Dallas, so I'm not too worried about that. Haley, really, there's a chance for a moderate on Friday, but I don't see, right now, I don't see a reason for a moderate. Nobody's given me a good reason for an upgrade to a moderate, except I just think. Or just because. Like, there's no actual good reasoning behind somebody saying there's a moderate being, you know, a moderate being needed for Friday. Because frankly, right now, there is no need for a moderate. Let me see. All right, but I'm gonna head off here. I appreciate you guys tuning into this long duration live stream. I didn't plan for it to be, but there was just a lot of stuff I wanted to yap about. So we're gonna go ahead and conclude. I've gotten hungry. So I appreciate you for watching. If you haven't already, and you can real quick before you go, hit the like button on this live stream. Share this stream with your family, friends, social media. Consider hitting that subscribe button with the notification bell set to all. The plan is to go live again tomorrow, roughly about 5 p.m. Eastern, and we'll be live for 2 to 4 hours tomorrow. And then the plan for Friday is to try to do a early afternoon live stream, and then probably come back for a evening live stream. So we'll see about Friday. It just depends on the timing of things, but maybe we'll be able to get in 2 live streams on Friday, both being on the shorter side of things. So instead of doing like 1 8-hour live stream, we do like a 2-hour live stream early and then a 4-hour live stream in the evening, something like that. But yeah, I will see you guys tomorrow, roughly about 5 p.m. Eastern time. Again, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you... Let me just get rid of that mod real quick. Make sure you share the stream with your family, friends, social media. It's really appreciated. And yeah, I'll catch y'all tomorrow, roughly about 5 p.m. Eastern, maybe a little before, maybe a little after. I appreciate you guys sharing this stream a lot. We got over 3,000 people to view this live stream, so that's really appreciated. Hopefully people are more weather aware now than, before they click the live stream. That's just the goal. Just to help people get weather aware, even if it's just a little bit more weather aware, or, you learn something a little bit new. But I will catch you in the next one. I'm going to go research a whole lot of hailstones and how they form and whatnot. So I'll catch you guys roughly at 5 p.m. Eastern tomorrow. Stay safe. Watch the severe weather. Catch you then. Goodbye. stay safe, watch the severe weather, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Good.